Hello everybody. Now, I think it's been a long time since I've recorded a video, so I hope the quality does not come out as super bad or terrible, and I hope this is at least watchable. It has taken me a while to get this video up and going, but I think now I'm at least able to get it out before the DLC has been out too long. So, hopefully I will be able to record the DLC soon. But anyways, this video is going to consist of a challenge, somewhat. The challenge of this video is not going to be super strict like you see in most other challenge videos. It is just going to be my interpretation of a build that I thought would be a unique way to play the game. And it is, I think, just something I don't know if anybody's done before. So that's why I'm hoping it's at least entertaining. If not, oh well. But the challenge is, as you've probably read by the title of the video, it is going to be a challenge that is a quote-unquote true warrior, which means basically I only use vigor, strength, dex, and endurance, and maybe mind. I didn't really get into it too much, but I know later on in the build I was considering it. Now, that also means I can't use anything that is magic-based or nothing that's non-physical damage. So, basically just physical-based things and strict, certain, I guess, weapons, you know? But that's just the beginning of this video so far. And that's all I have to say as an explanation for the build. So other than that, I hope this video is entertaining in some way, and I hope that you can give it a like if you like it. Now, with all of that out of the way, we can continue on to the actual video. So, already starting off with this this video, you will see me instantly take on the Grafted Scion, which, you know, as a true warrior, you can't lose any battles, so you have to kill the first enemy that you come across, and you can't die. No, obviously I'm not going to be doing that, but the real challenge will start when I hit Limgrave, because that is where I will actually fight and kill my technically first boss, if you count mini bosses as bosses, and you'll see here that I actually am able to beat him first try. Now, you probably won't believe me, but, I mean, what else can I say? I did it right there, but you don't have to believe me. So after I beat him, I ran over to Melania, grabbed the whistle, obviously, because I'm not going to be running around everywhere. I decided to level up a little bit of strength and dexterity to start off, and I grabbed the Lordsworn Greatsword because I wanted to use it against this invader over here, which he's not a real invader, but, you know. I decided to change my mind on that, of course, because, as you see, I switch over to a sword, because it's just more effective. The greatsword was slow. I then come into Murkwater Cave to pay a visit to an old friend, right after I level up, of course, getting a little bit more vigor. Saw this chest, thought I'd grab it because I needed some pants, and, of course, that's where our friend comes in. And, yeah, let's just say he doesn't survive. Unfortunately, Patches had to die. Now after that, I don't know if you'll call it some form of karma, but after I decided to leave the cave, I went to go kill these little bug guys, which I hate bugs. I tried running away from this guy because he was just too powerful for me, and instead I was met with a even bigger, blacker foe. But I did not let that stop me from heading over to the Weeping Peninsula and grabbing the Morning Star. That'll come in handy for later. But I also wanted to come over here and grab the Great Turtle Shell because it was a blessing in this run, if you would say. Helped a lot. I ended up grabbing also the Sacred Tears from this place. Took a walk across the beach past all the dead folk, of course casual, and decided to slay a few birds because I hate birds. But really I just needed their feet because I was going to fry them up and pickle them in gold. You know, the best recipe from Elden Ring. I then headed back to Limgrave, where I decided to grab the wet knife because I completely forgotten to grab it earlier. Stupid of me. I then also grabbed a golden seed and decided to help a good friend Alexander the Jar, which obviously, I had to just smack him out. Pretty easy. I don't know how he got stuck in there in the first place and couldn't get himself out, but he gave me some flesh for it. I don't know what kind of gift the jars thought that would be, but I decided to continue along. Met a friend named D, which I don't know what his actual name is. I think Darius, maybe? I don't know. I decided to kill this old guy on a boat because I hate old guys on boats, and they shouldn't even be driving, honestly. Especially in the middle of a little lake, which I don't know how he's staying afloat with all of the barely any water around him. Besides me beating up old men that are driving around in boats, I was able to get a death root after beating this old man that was driving around in boats. Don't know where I got it from, but it became very useful for later on because I have to pay a visit to a certain guy that needs it. And since I was over here, I figured I'd grab the green turtle talisman because stamina regeneration is a must in this run. My next stop, though, was the third church of Mariko, where I proceeded to get stuck in some trees because good game design. I grabbed the sacred tear and the crimson crystal tear as well. I then proceeded over to Fort Height, where I grabbed a golden seed and almost got blown up, not once, not twice, but 3 times. All of that just to grab the 1/2 of the Dectus medallion. I then proceeded to head over to Smoldering Church so I could go to Caelid because I needed to grab the best weapon, or one of the best weapons in the game, the greatsword. Luckily I didn't die there. And after that, I went over to grab the other half of the Dectus medallion, which now you're wondering, what else is there to do in Caelid? Well, let me tell you, it is super interesting and super cool, unique, no one's ever done it before. It's called, I lied. It's time to cheese grail. I know what you're thinking. Oh, why would you use bleed? You're supposed to be a true warrior. And to that I have to say, it's my build. So, haha, loser. Your opinion does not matter. Now that I felt stronger, I was able to go over to Liurnia, where I decided to grab the sacred tear from the church that was there. I continued deeper into Liurnia, where I was able to take a portal to take me to the Academy gates. But I couldn't enter the Academy gates yet because I need a key, go figure. So I ran outside and around and I found this loser sitting here crying because he's pathetic. I wanted to go to listen to him, but honestly I didn't care, so I just ran away. I then went to actually grab the key this time, running past this casual sleeping dragon, which, of course, when you go to grab a key you'll find a dragon. I wasn't going to fight him now though, so I went back to the gates, went through and grabbed this golden seed, and then I yet again teleported through another gate somehow. It's very ineffective traveling, but I then decided to grab another sacred tear and another golden seed while I was out here. I went back to go grab a second weapon of this run. As you noticed, I've been looking for specific weapons, and this is one that I just so happen to need, so another big black foe down, and Knight Rider glaive has been attained. Right after that, I was able to make it up to the Grand Lift, or the Dectus Medallion Lift, whatever, to make it up to Altus Plateau, where I could grab a few more golden seeds, and I took the portal over to the Windmill Village because I needed that Site of Grace for later, since I was doing a certain quest line from somebody. And while I was over here, I also decided to stop by a church to grab the Sacred Tear, and for some reason, I headed over to Mount Gelmir, I think just to grab the Site of Grace for later, since I was already over here and I didn't want to make a second trip. I went back to the Smoldering Church so I could also go fight the Erdtree Avatar for the Green Spill Crystal Tier, I think. Like I said, stamina regeneration is a must in this run. And I also did a little victory dance because I felt very accomplished after this, even though it's an Erdtree Avatar and they're not really that hard. Right after this, I headed back over to Liurnia so I could go to the crystal tunnel that was there, and of course at the end of it, I fought the Crystallian, which you know how that fight goes. Just about as easy as walking around. It's not really that big of a challenge. So shortly after that I headed to Limgrave so I could fight Agil, the flying dragon, and funnily enough, during this fight, he got stuck up on a hill. I thought that was funny. I don't know why he was all the way up there, but I guess he just was so scared of my imposing, intimidating aura that I just scared him so much. But anyways, enough messing around. I ended up killing him afterwards when he finally came back down, and that's when I had this little idea after I talked to this NPC, Yura, I think his name is, and he said something about the Dragon Communion Church in Limgrave, and I thought that'd be a good place to stop by because no one ever goes there, and I could use that for later on my build, but not right now, of course. After that, I headed over to Bach because I decided to do his questline because, well, it's Bach, and he could always use a little bit of help. But before I headed over to the cave that Bach is at, I decided to go to the Weeping Peninsula so I could grab the lantern, because the cave is pretty dark, and the dark is spooky. So when I got back over to the cave, this is just about how the fight went. Easy peasy, just about a slice of cake. Head over to the Dragon Communion Church that's here in Limgrave, which, like I said, no one rarely ever goes to, and I decided to consume some dragon hearts. Trust me, it's heart healthy for you. Besides cringy jokes aside, I went back over to Bach and gave him his sewing needle, because it's his precious sewing needle. Went over to Hugh so I could get my halberd leveled up, and halberds are very underrated in this game. Headed back to Limgrave so I could take the portal to Bestial Sanctum, and like I said, I needed to talk to this little doggo later, which don't know if this is the dog we fight, if it's back in time, don't know. Anyways, went back to Altus Plateau, grabbed a couple golden seeds, grabbed a couple more golden seeds. I don't know if you could tell this, but I was not the very effective runner here. I was all over the place, but I also, for some reason, decided to go fight the Dragon Tree Sentinel, even though, you know, I probably shouldn't have. I died once. Twice. 3 times. And, 4 times. Yeah, and 5 times for good measure. I don't think I was supposed to be here, but luckily enough, with enough stupidity and or determination, depending on what you want to say, I was able to take him on 1v1. Now, he wasn't that difficult. It was just the fact that I was low level. I was getting like 2-shot, and I hadn't fought him in a very long time because I had stopped playing Elden Ring for quite some time. Got busy with life and stuff, so I was still getting the hang of things, but eventually, once I got good, I guess you could say, it wasn't that difficult considering he was just a guy on a horse that was using a dragon claw. You know, not that big a deal or anything. Not that he's also 2 times my size, but thanks to the halberd as well, I also was able to use the moveset to kind of roll around him and claim victory over him, I suppose. And those fireballs are very annoying from that horse, I swear. That was the worst thing ever. I was kind of excited that I finally was able to beat him, though. I got a decent amount of souls, or runes, I guess you could say, from him. And I made sure this time to pick up the Site of Grace, because you don't know how many times I would come here and not pick it up and have to run all the way back in different run-throughs. I decided to rest here for a second to level up for a minute, since I didn't want to lose all my runes, and I had a little bit of hard time deciding, but I decided to go with strength, I think. I headed back to the capital outskirts because I needed to go to the mining tunnel that was here so I could grab the smithing stone miner's bell bearing, and I also needed to fight the Onyx Lord because I wanted to get the Site of Grace after him. And he's an old man, so I was just able to kind of push him around. This is just about how the fight went. Yeah, I'm getting sick and tired of these old men being bosses. They don't really pose any challenge. Not for this build, at least. I then decided after that to head back over to Hugh to level up a few of my weapons that I've attained so far, and I might have accidentally slipped up and went back to Grail. Trust me, I won't be doing this anymore. I think. Maybe. Hopefully. But, besides that, after I left, I went back to level up because I needed some more souls to level up, and I just decided to go to Grail. And then finally, I went to Stormhill so I could go take on Margit. Now this is where the challenge really started. And I will not be using any Grail cheese or any Morning Star or anything like that, and I'll just be using plain old basic build that I said I was going to start off with. So, into the fight I went, and I was ready to take on Margit, another old man with a walking stick this time. Very imposing, very challenging, and yeah, he definitely wasn't that hard on this build, I would say. I've had harder times with him in other builds. But considering that this is the first boss and I'm not super overpowered, he was a decent challenge, I suppose. But yet again, it's not that hard because he's Margit and he's the beginning boss. So far, I rate this boss D tier, and was not that challenging. Besides beating down another old man, continuing on, I went through the main gate of the castle because I didn't want to take the side way. That's for cowards, and since I'm a true warrior, I am so skilled, I was actually able to make it through without dying. I know, great flex. I killed a couple guys, got some new armor as well. Honestly, this armor is pretty cool. I decided to wear it for a little while, but that didn't stick around for too long, I don't think. And that's when I came across this lion guy, which he's not that scary. I don't know why on my first playthrough I thought it was so imposing. Probably because I was used to Dark Souls and every single enemy being the size of me. After getting shot by some exploding arrows, but not getting exploded, and hiding around a corner from this guy spitting fire, I know, pretty cool, I grabbed a golden seed and then went to level up before getting into the Godric fight, which I don't know why in Souls games there's always like 4 bosses that had the name God in it, even though they're not really gods. Well, except for one that's later on, and he's actually a god, I feel like. But fanboying for Godfrey aside, I don't think that this fight, obviously, it was difficult at all. Honestly, I rate the Margit fight a D. Yeah, this one's an F because of how weak and pathetic Godric is. He's basically just another old man just using steroids. At least with Margit, he got his hard-earned gains the way that he should. So, yet again, non-challenging fight aside, I give this F tier. He's not really that good of a boss. And I don't know why I'm rating the bosses, but that's what I'm doing. Anyways, after that, I went back to the Round Table Hold, leveled up my greatsword, and actually headed back to the academy this time, since I was actually wanting to get stuff done in this run, instead of running around grabbing things. Guy started to phase through me, but I grabbed the Site of Grace because I did not want to die and run all the way back. I got sucked once, and maybe twice, by 2 old guys. I don't know why. They just like sucking me, I guess. And yeah, 3rd time's the charm, I suppose. But luckily, I did not consent, so that does not make me gay. I decided to break a jar as well, heading further into the academy, before fighting the Red Wolf of Watergon, which went about as so. He's a bad doggo. Deserves to get put in the doghouse, I guess you would say. Cringy. Another cringy joke, besides. I was able to make it past without dying, of course. I know, big flex. After that, I headed outside to grab another golden seed, and I got kind of jump scared by this crab because I don't know why, but I never knew that this crab was here. It was very, very startling. I was able to make it to whatever this guy's name is. I forget his name. He died anyways. Not too hard. I know he used to parry a lot of people, and in my first playthrough he got me, but he's no match for my halberd skills. Now, I was about to head into the Renala fight when all of a sudden I realized I actually needed to go get some golden feet. Pickled in gold, obviously. And as I was doing that, I found an octopus head, which is supposed to be pretty rare, I thought. I thought it was pretty cool, jiggle physics aside. And I decided to wear it as I went back into the Renala fight. Once I was finally in the Renala fight, I was actually able to beat her first try, of course. I'm not saying that's really a flex or anything, but usually people are, they kind of have trouble with this boss. I think that she's not too difficult. I kind of like the design of it, considering the lore behind it and all of that, and, you know, just how the fight is designed at this part. It reminds me of Bloodborne from the Vacuous ROM fight. I don't know, I like the design of this area at least, and like I said, I think I'd give this boss D tier, just because she's, yet again, another just old person that's got a walking stick, but she's just fancier. Although, like I said, not as bad as Godric. So, after beating her, I was able to move on with my life and decided to level up, which, like I said, I was kind of being random with my levels. I'm not really trying to go specific. I also didn't know what I was doing, and at that moment I also realized there's something else I was missing that was essential for this run, and that was the Misery Code, I think it's called. I don't know. I also grabbed the Iron Wet Blade because I needed to use the quality skill on my weapons. And like I said, the Misery Cody, don't know, is essential for critical attacks, because critical attacks are very open in this run. Like, I stun a lot of bosses. And I also got the Arsenal Charm from Nefeli, which, it's the Arsenal Charm, but I don't even think about using it until I get the, because I get a much better weapon, or talisman later on. Now, I decided to also get the Weathered Dagger and give it to a good old friend D. I hope that doesn't come back to haunt me later. Probably won't, right? Anyways, besides that, I went to the abandoned cave in Caelid because I wanted to grab the Golden Scarab Talisman, and yeah, yet again, another easy boss, not too difficult. A lot of people have trouble with this cave because of the Scarlet Rot, but I'm a true warrior, and it did not bother me that I had all kinds of infectious diseases coursing through my body. I was able to get the W and get the Golden Scarab Talisman. I then headed over to the other side of Caelid so I could go fight Radahn, because since I was over here, I thought, I might as well kill another rune bearer while I was at it and get it out of the way. Funnily enough, I actually didn't have that much trouble with Radahn. I give this boss an S tier. I really do like the design of this boss fight, and I wish I had more footage from this boss. But since I was short on time and I didn't really think about, much about what I was doing at the time, I just kind of fought him, and I did die though. I got him to his second phase first try, and unfortunately I got smacked with some boulders, but shortly after that I was able to kill him, and like I said, I think this is an S tier boss because of the lore, and I just like Radahn a lot. Although unfortunately I can't use his Great Rune, or Godfrey's Great Rune either, because it's not, they just increase my stats, and I can't have something that increases my stats that are like my stats that I level up. And also, unfortunately, at the time, I came back to Round Table Hold, and what I did earlier did come back to haunt me, actually. Besides the grief from losing a friend, which I did not talk too much, I grabbed a talisman pouch from that old lady and headed over to Liurnia again to get to Ronnie, and while I was doing that, I grabbed a golden seed, and then I fought Ghost Loretto, which, the fight went about just as you thought. It was over in about 10 seconds. I give this boss F. Pretty lazy design, honestly, but I guess it's a niche thing. After talking to Ronnie, I went back to Liurnia again to do the Nefeli questline, or to further it, killing the Omen Killer, which makes me the Omen Killer. Don't know what that's supposed to say, but I then went back and beat the crap out of another guy, because, he got mad that I was about to thwart his master's plans. Evil Guy 101. I then went back over to Liurnia the Lakes. I know, very effective route running. I should be a speedrunner. I decided to use one of the magic swordstone keys to go back to the Lost Chapel, because like I said, I was trying to further Nefeli's questline, and I figured I'd do it all in one go, at least, and I decided to get my revenge on the Grafted Scion for good this time. Even though I can't use his weapons, I do kind of like the weapons, and I do kind of like the design of him. I give him a D tier. Not really special, but it's an interesting design, at least. I was able to grab the Stormhawk King and the Stormhawk, whatever it is. Went back to Kenneth Height, because, of course, you need to do that, and I thought for a second, contemplated kicking him off an edge, but I thought I'd do the honorable thing and let him be spared for one more day. I gave the Stormhawk King ashes to Nefeli, and I headed over to Nokron, Eternal City, so I can kill myself and continue on to the Sophira Aqueduct. From there, I gave the set of armor to this guy with bandages, some homeless guy. He looked like he really needed the clothing. And I pressed on to the Twin Gargoyles fight. Now, Twin Gargoyles fight did give me a little bit of trouble, I'd say. I I died a good few times. There was a couple of times that I did die extra on top of that I didn't have time to leave in the video, but it did provide a good challenge. I spent about 2 hours on this fight, but sure, eventually I decided to just summon D because I don't know, I was having a little bit of trouble, and I didn't have anything against summoning people during this run. I just didn't want to have to. Still died anyways, which shows how good I am at the game. But luckily, about my third try after that, I was able to actually win. And I decided to, for my victory, sit in a coffin, and it floated me up to deeper depths. To go up, you have to go down, for some reason. I popped a few ants on the way too. Got these Newman runes, which honestly give you a decent amount of levels, and it's just free souls at that point. After doing that, though, I decided to stop and level up because I felt kind of scared in this area that I was going to die. But I was able to make it to the champions fight of Fia's champions. Now, Fia's champions fight, I think it's D tier. A lot of bosses in this game are like D tier because a lot of them are just copy and paste, but I think I might bump it up to C just for the fact that I do like the unique style to it and then the lore part to it. Shortly after the fight, I got squeezed to get a blessing that is almost useless, and then headed over to Lendel Royal Capital. I smacked a good tree avatar, and then I was able to level up dexterity, and then I went back to Hugh to level up more on my weapons. I was able to kill this gargoyle here. It was not too hard, but just another gargoyle placement, which is, I guess, okay. And then I grabbed a golden seed, and this is when I decided to stop and get some new drip, which, I don't know, I look pretty stylish too. But for some reason, I went back to Caelid to grab the bandit, or the warrior armor, which I don't know why I did that. And then I also decided to kill that general, I forget his name. And then I also decided to do Millicent's questline, which, as you saw, I also went over here and grabbed a sacred tear, and then I got the prosthesis for his heirloom, which I cannot use any of these, but still. I picked up a useful tool, number 1, which will come in handy later. While I was running around, I smacked up a couple of these naked guys, which don't know why they were naked, but hey, I'm not judging. Killed a troll, and then I decided to grab the Finger Slayer Blade for Ronnie's questline. Now, I don't know why I did Ronnie's questline. Oh, wait. I do know why I did Ronnie's questline. Shortly after giving the Finger Slayer Blade to Ronnie, I then grabbed the twinned gargoyle twin blade to actually start using it because I like the design of the weapon and I've always wanted to use a twin blade, so I thought I'd incorporate it into this run. I headed over to Godfrey as well, or Goldfrey I suppose, and I was able to actually beat him first try. Now, I know that's not really a compliment or anything, but it's just usually he's somewhat challenging, although maybe I just gotten better at the game at this point. He wasn't that challenging. I do give him a C tier though, just because it's Godfrey and I do like his lore. After fighting Godfrey, I then headed over to the Margit fight, or Morgott I should say this time. Confusing, another old man, this time with a sharp walking stick. And he actually did give me some trouble. He was pretty fast and agile, more fast than I could actually keep up with for this fight. But luckily, I decided to lock in and just thought I'd give it one good try. And shortly after I sat down and got into my training arc, I then was able to actually get the win. I give this fight I give it a B tier, just because I actually do like this version of Margit or Morgott better. He does look pathetic laying on the ground though. Anyways, continuing with the main story, I guess you could say, I grabbed the rolled medallion so I could go to the Grand Lift, which obviously I did not do that. For some reason, I just went to the Ansel River to continue Ronnie's questline, where I fought the quote-unquote Baleful Shadow, which is just, you know, Blythe. You know, I don't know why. I don't know. This fight is very strange, to say the least. I leveled up, and I ran through a lake of questionable liquids. But I'm not questioning that now, since I am now heading down to fight Astel, the Natural Born of the Stars, I think his full name is. I just call him Astel. And now Astel. This fight was interesting, because I do like the design of it, but he wasn't that difficult, so I didn't really have much footage to show of him. I did die twice, though, by getting eaten to death, which I don't know if that says that I'm tasty enough to be eaten, but I give him a B tier just because I like space, and he is space themed, and he was a okay boss, I suppose. Not too challenging, though. I grabbed the Dark Moon Ring and headed over to fight Blythe because I wanted to get his set of armor, because I used it later on, and also I needed to put him out of his misery, unfortunately, although I wish there was a way we could save him. Shortly after that, I headed over to go to Ronnie, and I decided to fight Glintstone Dragon Adula, which, like all the other dragons I fight in this run, are not challenging, and they don't pose any threat. I then got married shortly after that to a dead doll, which I don't know what that says about me, but hey, +1. I then decided to go back to the Ashen capital, or not Ashen capital, but the capital, and went up to the actual mountaintop of giants, killing a Black Blade Kindred, I think that's called, and finally, after enough procrastinating, I'm now nearing the end of the game, but there's plenty more procrastinating to go around. I then also decided to kill whatever his name is, Shabriri, so I can get now my new set of drip, which I think I'm looking pretty drippy, if you do ask me. While I was up here, I grabbed another smithing stone bell bearing, because I needed to level up my weapons, since now I'm using not only the Twin Blade, the Halberd, but the Greatsword and the Misericorde. I then also grabbed the Valkyrie's Prosthesis, because I thought it was about time to go and give it to her so I can further her quest line, and I went back to the Windmill Village that I luckily grabbed this Site of Grace at to grab not only the quest line to go further, but grab the useful tool number 2 that will come in later. Now, I headed back over to the Mountaintop of Giants because I was not messing around anymore, and I want to continue on. I was going deeper into the level, I guess, area, when I found this dragon, tried to jump scare me, did not work, and I was able to kill him. Continued on to pick up another Somber Miner's Bell Bearing, which I did not need, but I grabbed it. Grabbed another Sacred Tear, and came over to the Church of Repose, where I was invaded by Okana, which, yet again, another invader boss, or not boss, invader, and it was not too hard. I was able to beat him in about 5 minutes. Plus, he's a noob. He uses Rivers of Blood, so his opinion does not matter, and his character sucks. I also grabbed another Sacred Tear before heading over to the Fire Giant. Now, the Fire Giant is interesting because it was one of the longer fights, just because of the fact of how much he not only killed me when I got him to the end, but the fact that he just had so much health and I didn't have any bleed or frost like most other people have. So I just had to really get down to the nitty gritty and just power through it. Now, this boss was only challenging because of the fact of how long he took, and other than that, it's not like he had much really going for him in the way of real, like, moveset difficulty, I suppose. But I give him a C tier. He's a pretty decent boss. I went back to Hugh, leveled up, and then I went to fight the 3 stooges of the Great Jar, apparently, the 3 little lackeys, to grab the Great Jar Arsenal. And, yeah, 1, 2, 3. They died pretty easily. was finally able to get the Grey Jar's arsenal, which I did use, and it did come in handy. And then, for some reason after that, I went to the Hallowhorn Grounds to kill the Ancestral Spirit, because during this fight, I don't know if you could tell, I'm trying to hit all their remembrances. Now, for an unknown reason, I went back to Liurnia and decided to find the Tibia Mariner there. And I think I was doing it just because I wanted to get another death root, but I don't know why I did that. I think I was just trying to do that because later on it'll come in handy. But since I was over there, I also decided to stop at Ronnie's Tower to grab the Curse Mark of Death. Now, I went back to Fia, of course, and decided to give her the full half of it. And after getting squeezed yet again by a creepy lady who sleeps with dead people, I then went back and decided to go into her dream, and this is where I found Fortisax. Now, I give Fortisax an S tier. He is really cool, his design is awesome, and the way to get to his boss fight is even better. And he's a dragon, and I do like the dragon boss fights in this. Well, the real dragon boss fights, like Placidusax and stuff like that. Not, the other ones, like Adula. But besides that, I actually was able to do this first try. He was kind of difficult because of the death and the fact that the lightning chased me around, but it was an S tier all around, and it wasn't too difficult. From there, I grabbed the Mending Rune of Death Prince, which you're also probably wondering, how did I continue this questline if I helped D? To be in all honesty, I don't know why. It didn't work, but as you can see, when I stopped to level up, I turn around and she's dead and D is standing there. And I thought, well, not my problem. So I just simply left to go back to the Mountaintop of Giants to fight the Erd Tree Avatar that was here because I wanted to get the Crimson Bubble Tier, which is not against the rules of this run because it is like a healing item and I can use healing in this. And I was kind of making up the rules as I went along, but I did follow a sort of strict guideline. While I was up here, I also decided to kill another Tibia Mariner so I could grab the Death Root from him as well. And that's when I came to fight Commander Nile. Nile. Don't know why I thought his name was Null or Nail, but anyways, this boss fight, I give it a D tier, just because it's pretty cool, the design with the lightning and the frost, but other than that, it's a pretty D tier just because of the fact I already fought this boss once before, and it's very confusing on how he was in Caelid, but then also here. Very strange. I was able to kill myself again after heading back to the rolled lift to get the secret medallion since I have the other half, and went down, and then I went to the consecrated snowfields, which, let me tell you, this area is very annoying in the beginning. But after I made it out of the giant blizzard, I was able to fight the Tarnished Eater again, and she, yet again, wasn't that hard, because she's just an invader. I then also decided to come over here and grab the Rotten Duelist Greaves, which I thought would be cool, but I didn't really wear them. Or did I? Anyways, I lit 3 fires, because of course I have to do the 3 fires, that's a given for any area. Or, well, 4 fires, I suppose. Just, you just gotta do that to get to Miquella's Haligtree, of course. No big deal, of course. I then also decided to head down further at this time instead of leaving to go to Loretta, the real Loretta this time. Now, the real Loretta, I give her a D tier just because I do kind of like the design of it, but it's a D tier just because the fact that she's here at Miquella's Haligtree instead of somewhere else. But besides that, I grabbed an Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, ran through another pool of questionable liquids before fighting a what's it called? I think it's called it's one of these things that pops out of the water. Luckily, I was able to kill it the first try and was rewarded with a golden seed. Since I was over here, I also decided to grab Millicent's questline and complete that so I could get the Rotten Wing Sword Talisman, which I could not use during this run, but it would be nice to have for when the run is over. I also grabbed the Unalloyed Golden Needle. After that, I headed over to grab the Dragon Crest Great Shield to go down to Melania's boss fight. And Melania's boss fight, right before I got in there, I thought, oh, it shouldn't be no big deal. I mean, it's just Melania, the worst boss in the entire game because of her mechanics and her design, but I thought, you know what, I feel confident. I've beaten all the bosses up to this point, haven't had too much trouble, except for the twin gargoyles fight, which that's just a twin gargoyles fight, but I thought, hey, no big deal, I should be able to beat her, right?
Left in my wake as I awaited his return.
Oh, how wrong I was. I kid you not, I died a total of over 50 times. And that's just off the top of my head. Those were just some of the few tries that you saw me. And by the time I got to the second phase, for the first time, I had already died so many times, and that had taken me so many hours to get to. And after trying for so long, I'd got so fed up with it. I had just barely been able to get her down to her second phase and almost kill her with the build. So I resorted to the unthinkable. I had to use bleed, and I pulled out my special weapon that I got earlier, my two special tools, plus the pants that I'd grabbed. I was actually able to finally beat the boss. She took me so long, and at this point I got so fed up, I just couldn't take it anymore. I felt like with my build there was just no way I could beat her. I felt like I was so just fed up with this fight. It really just wore me down because of how long it was taking, and the fact that I wasn't doing enough damage to out damage whenever she would hit me to heal, and she was so fast. I had to do something that could outmatch her, and bleed was the way to go. But at what cost? It really didn't make me feel any better that I had used bleed during this fight. It made me feel like I had failed the challenge, which I technically did. I used bleed. I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to use anything but straight physical damage. So, I guess the video is over. Or maybe not. You see, the whole point of this video was to have a different experience for Elden Ring. It was to be able to see how far I could go, and I could only go up to Melania, but there was still a video to be made. There was still a challenge to be completed. So even if I had temporarily failed, I decided, you know what? What better to do than to continue on and learn from your mistakes? I had switched back everything that I had used previously. The Thorny Crystal Tear, the Rotten Sword Wing Talisman, and the bleed on the weapons. I took it off, but right before I was about to leave, to just continue on to the next area, I realized Melania's Great Rune was the first Great Rune I could actually use. It didn't buff anything that was like physical damage, and it didn't add any extra damage. So I headed to the Tower of Return so I could get poofed away in a cloud of smoke because somebody vaped too hard in a box. They really hotboxed it, I guess you could say. To go over to the isolated Divine Tower, went up the tower, and was able to claim Melania's Great Rune, and finally, for the first time in this run, I actually had a use for the rune shards. Now, Melania's Great Rune was nothing to really brag about, but it would be kind of useful at some point, I think. Shortly after that, I decided to head back over to Mount Gelmir because I wanted to go fight another boss, Rykard. Before that, though, I had to fight the Falling Star Beast, which, you know, it wasn't too difficult. I did it first try, and This Falling Star Beast is, pretty easy. I also grabbed another Golden Sea Dwellers here. Under Volcano Manor, where I just got shouted at for some reason all the way from back there. Thought that was funny. I joined Volcano Manor, even though I technically didn't want to. I was kind of forced to. It's almost like a cult, I guess you could say. And I took the secret passageway to get into the little resting area. I also leveled up, and I ran through the little town area that was there, and I was able to unlock the shortcut to get to the Godskin Noble fight, which the Godskin Noble fight was just about as you'd expect. Simple, easy. Big fat guy, went down, tub of lard. I also got the Godskin, the Stitcher weapon, I forget what it's called, and after that I made my way to Rykard, which I was debating on fighting him just by myself, but I saw the Great Serpent Hunter Spear, and I thought that seems like a much better option. Now, technically, the reason why I'm even allowing this is because it's a physical weapon. It doesn't do anything but physical damage. It just has a special property about it that is specifically for this fight. So I'm just going to blame Rykard for the reason why my weapon does this. I just was trying a new weapon, and honestly, it's not my fault that it suddenly grew a 20, 30 foot long blade made out of wind. But hey, don't ask me, ask him. Although, I do rate this boss, he's a B tier. I do like his design. He's just, he doesn't really have much else going for him, and honestly, I wish they'd done a little bit more with him. Maybe made him a little bit more, I don't know. Just give him a little bit more spice, I guess you could say. I also grabbed Rykard's Great Rune, which, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I use that? Well, I do, later. But as you can see here, I decided to use the Godskin Stitcher because I really like the design of the weapon. I also headed back to the Mountaintop of Giants because now I wanted to go kill Moog. Before that, though, I had to test out my new weapon, and it's about as effective as you thought. Pretty effective for poking people. I took a blood tunnel teleporter to Mogwin Palace and was able to make it to the Mausoleum. Yeah. Made it to the top, and I was able to actually get another Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, which I have yet to actually use any of the somber ones, except for on the Great Serpent Hunter Spear. But I was able to now. Finally, I was at Moog. Now, Moog is, I would say, a B tier. I like his design, I like his lines, and everything about him was good. And he wasn't too challenging, except for the fact that I didn't have the tier for this fight, the crystal tier. So before I got too far, I went back and grabbed that. Now, I did kind of bully this person. What else can I say? I'm just too good at this game. But now, with the crystal tier in hand, I went back to Moog's fight. Like I was saying, Moog is not too difficult because of the fact that he actually, he has a good design, and I do like his whole thing, but he is pretty simple when it comes to, like, moves and, his abilities in this, I guess you would say. With his like kind of lower health compared to the fire giant, let's say, or like, I guess not as much health as Melania, and without her honestly bullshit abilities, I was able to actually beat him on my third try. I think I did die once, but I cut it out for some reason. After I defeated Moog, I then decided to go to the Flame Peak so I could finally go to the crumbling Farum Azula. Now that I was finally here at this point in the game, I felt like I was so close to the end, yet so far away, because I only had a few more bosses to go. So I kind of rushed my way over to Malekith as quickly as I could, because I wanted to be able to get it done. So as I went through the place, I decided to stop by a different way, and I kind of got jump scared by these knights on the way to the Godskin duo. But other than that, I didn't have any other troubles getting there. Now, I was debating on summoning Bernald, but I didn't want to make the same mistake as the twin gargoyles, which, it wasn't too difficult, I suppose. I mean, the Godskin Nobles are pretty simple, I think. I mean, they're difficult, but that's why I give them an F, because it's just two of the Godskin people that you've already fought 4 other times in the whole game. After that, I was going on my way to Malekith when these damn birds just kept hitting me. I hate these birds. They literally kept annoying the piss out of me, because they just keep showing up and swiping at me and doing nothing but annoying me. Anyways, killed another dragon, pretty simple, grabbed a golden seed, and found this guy, which I did not know he was down here until this playthrough, and thought I could take him on. I died, losing all those runes that I had, and on the way to get those runes, I died again, losing my runes. But anyways, I got this another cool set of armor, which it's one of my favorite sets of armor in the whole game, S tier if you ask me, and I decided to wear it. But I don't think I showed, because I decided to go also grab something else that was dragon related that I reminded of from Limgrave. And that also reminded me of all this dragon stuff. I needed to go finish some business with Grail. Now, I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, but Grail, it was time for him to go. I'd already gotten everything I needed out of him, and I decided to give him a proper death. Right after I ate one of my pickled feet, of course. And now, with 5 dragon hearts in hand, I decided to go consume them at the Dragon Communion Church in Caelid, where I grabbed the Dragon Claw, the Dragon Maw, and Grail's Roar, which I don't know if you could tell or not, but I wasn't trying to get any of the magic-based ones, if that's any hint as to what's to come later. I headed back to Crumbling Farum Azula, and since I was already on the business of doing all this dragon hunting, I went back to fight Placidusax, of all people. Placidusax I give an S tier because of his boss arena, the boss music, and just his fight, just himself alone. It reminds me a lot of that one dragon from Dark Souls 3 that I forget the name of. I should know this, but it's been so long since I've thought about it. Anyways, as you could see, I had a little bit of trouble with this fight, but luckily I was able to really get down to it, and I only got him after 2 tries. He wasn't too difficult, but I liked the design of this boss. He did provide some challenge, though, from the way he teleported around. Now, after that, I went to fight another Draconic Tree Sentinel. Yet again, fell easily like the last one. Well, I guess the last one wasn't too easy, but after that, I was able to get to Malekith. Now, Malekith was actually kind of challenging for the fact that he he jumped around and he was very acrobatic in his second phase at least. His first phase was pretty easy, as you could see, but by the time I got to the end of the fight, I had already blown through all my healing and almost died, so I respect this boss, and he reminds me a little bit of Artorias, so I'll give him a B tier, just because I also like the design, and his weapon is pretty sick. I mean, he's literally wielding a blade of death. So anyways, I decided to walk up to this shadowy red symbol thing for no other reason besides to just kill myself for some reason, since I don't know why, but in the game you're just like, oh, yay, let me walk up to this thing that might kill me. I was fine, though. And that's when I also went to level up my 2 twin blades, and this is where, man, the toughest fight in the entire challenge is. I had so much trouble with this guy, I kid you not. Yeah. No, it's Gideon. He really was not a challenge at all. Now you know it was pretty cool, though. A really S-tier boss fight. It's Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Now I decided to leave a little bit of his intro in here because of how cool it is.
It's been a long while, Morgoth. scot-free. The first Elden Lord.
I would have left more of his intro in there if I had time in this video, but like I said, it is just so sick. I really like the design of it. It reminds me a lot of, I don't know, something like Kratos or something. I don't know. I just really like the whole design, and his second phase made it even better. I kind of wish they had actually had him around more to have more lines out of him, because I also like the voice acting. I like the design of the boss fight, the music that goes with the boss fight, his abilities, the way that he switches from his axe to literally ripping you apart with his bare hands. I don't know. It's an S+ tier fight. One of my favorite fights in the entire game. Him and Radahn are on the same level. Same thing with Placidus Axe. Now, after that, I was kind of relieved that I was at this point in the game. I basically made it all the way to the end. And it had been so long since I had actually gotten to the end. I was recording so much. I was finally able to make it to Radagon at the end of it all, and I think Radagon was a very big letdown on my first playthrough, but after quintessential playthroughs of this game, I've actually come to learn to admire this boss fight, sort of reflect on it and give it some well-deserved justice, because it's actually a decent designed boss fight. I just did not like the Elden Beast boss fight afterwards. Not saying that they're both difficult. I did die, though. I just had to cut it for time, and with that, though, that's the end of the fight. That's the end of the run. It doesn't really feel like it, but it was hours worth of content that I had to go through. But after killing Elden Beast and Radagon, after giving them a conjoined C tier, and finally being able to get to the end of the game, I decided to go with the Duskborn ending, because that is an ending I hadn't done yet, even though I guess there wasn't too many other true warrior endings, I guess, besides the Fractured one. I decided to do something unique. Now, my final thoughts on this run and video. I feel like this video was, it's a bit choppy, it's a bit rambly. After all this time trying to put this video together, it's literally been months, I was trying to make sure that everything fit together well, and with the Share Factory limitations, I can't really do much in the way of editing, because if I have too many clips for voice stuff for recording my mic, I have to save it and then wait an entire 30 minutes before I can keep going. So I tried doing them bigger, longer stretches, and I just tried to explain my thoughts as I was going along. I hope to get better with the quality as I go to record the DLC, because doing this type of video is something that's out of my forte. I'm more of a talking in the moment type of person, because I feel like I can say and speak more as I go on. And also, the quality of this mic is really high. It's a Blue Yeti microphone, so that's why you can probably kind of pick up everything in the background, and I'm just recording in my room right now. I'm not really able to have a huge soundproofing room, but I do try and make it the best I could, because I do want this to, at the end of the day, be an enjoyable video. So, with the final thoughts, I feel like this build was honestly not too challenging. I thought it'd be a little bit more challenging, because everybody's always talking about having these overpowered builds of magic and bleed and cold or poison, or just one-shotting bosses with all these buffs and stuff. I thought it'd be a nice contrast to have a build that was just fighting bosses and beating them as normal, almost not even necessarily as intended, just in a way that's possible but people don't think about. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you can give it a like, and here I will rest until I can get to the DLC, because I know there's more waiting here than meets the eye. And like I said, hope you can stick around for more when I can actually record the DLC. Thank you. That's all.